Hello people, welcome to the lesson number 1, and this is about the basic introduction to ESXi host, its basic purpose, and how you're going to install this ESXi host is going to be the part of this particular explanation. Now in this case you can see my diagram here, and this diagram tells you about that this is a physical computer system that holds up some resources like it has got CPU, it's got memory, it's got storage, and it has got the network in the form of network bandwidth. So on top of the hardware, when you install the ESXi host for the first time, so ESXi host has got this architecture that come up with, you can say, a VM kernel is the one that is just like any other operating system. The kernel is the important service that talks to the hardware through the hardware drivers or the firmwares. Now the VM kernel is going to talk to the VM kernel scheduler, and VM kernel scheduler is the one that distributes the and schedules the resource utilization for multiple virtual machines upon their request from the underlying resources. So virtual machine monitor, or in short VMM, is a service that connects these resources with the virtual machine consumerization. Now in order to produce the virtual machine and in order to get the virtual machine up and running on the ESXi host, there is a very important service that is known as host D. Host D is a service that runs in every ESXi host individually and takes care of the life cycle of the virtual machine from creation, which means provisioning, till the deletion of the virtual machine. In order to manage this host D, there is a built-in agent available within every ESXi host. Its name is VPXA. It is known as the VPX agent. This agent service connects ESXi host with the vCenter server. We're going to talk about vCenter server later, so that's why it's a small piece. So let's talk about how the installation is going to happen. Look into it. By the way, you can see my screen here. I'm using VMware Hands-On Labs, and you people can also use a similar lab. It's free of charge for everyone who's going to just register themselves, and they're going to be easy to access this lab. No need to dedicate any hardware if it is only the need to know how the environment works. If you want to do some research, then of course you require a dedicated hardware on which you're going to do your research stuff. Now in this case, I'm going to move on to the interactive simulation that is going to provide us the experience of how to install ESXi host on a bare metal or a physical computer system. As you can see on the screen here, that's the ESXi host standard boot version 8 we are using, and we are booting it from the DVD, right? And in this boot version we are going to at least initiate the installation process. So let me just finish up the environment with a clear picture, right? And let's start. So it starts within 5 seconds, and it's going to load up some of the modules you can see here, and it asked me to. So you need to follow the on-screen instructions to install the ESXi host on that physical computer system. Press enter, and it's going to scan for the available hard drive volumes, and it's going to pick up one of the hard drive. It is, you can see here, the virtual disk, because it's a virtual environment. But on your physical environment, they're going to be not a virtual disk, but the physical disk with its hardware configuration. You on-screen instructions going to be, you can cancel this deployment on this disk or the installation. You can look into more details by pressing F1, pressing F5, going to refresh. If the hard drive has not been shown over here, maybe you need to just replug it, or you can continue by pressing enter. You need to choose the layout of your keyboard, and then you need to provide the password, and you need to confirm the password. Press continue, and it's going to ask that installation is going to be just start up right after you press F11. So you press F11, the installation happens. It's my simulated environment, so it doesn't going to take much time, but at your side going to be the different time. In this case, I just quickly forwarded this process, and I press enter to reboot. Once the reboot happens, it's going to reboot the stuff and come up with a screen that you can see here. And this screen is similar like what you're going to have in your environment. And in this case, you're going to do the next step, going to be your configuration that you wanted to do. Here you can see in the gray area that the version of the ESXi host with the kernel release build number, along with how much of the CPU you got, the CPU capacity on the physical host, and how much of the memory installed within that physical host is going to show you here. In the yellow or the orange area, you're going to see the FQDN or the IP address associated with that ESXi host during the installation. And this is the similar IP address that is considered to be the management IP. Through this IP address, you can access its interface from your laptop remotely, or you can do the SSH if you have enabled. And you need to press F2 to customize its configuration, or you can shut it down or restart by pressing F12 and specifying your username and password, right? So I use to go into the customization, and I use the user root, and I provide the password that I have just provided during the installation process, and I press OK or enter. So this is the customization window that you're going to see right after the installation of your ESXi host here. And you can see there are so many different options, like configure the password, which means you're going to change the password to the new one by specifying the older one. Then configure lockdown mode. I'm going to explain lockdown mode in more detail in my next video, but lockdown mode, just a quick explanation to you guys, is about to making this access to ESXi host more secure. That is only left behind going to be for through vCenter server you can access it, and rest of the other accesses you can block for any users other than the exception users, which we can configure during the lockdown mode configuration. There are two type of lockdown modes. One is known as the strict lockdown mode, another one is known as the normal lockdown mode. By default, both of the modes are disabled. Then we talk about the configure management network. This is the one that I'm going to show you how you can change the IP address which has just been provided during the installation of your ESXi host, either through DHCP or statically. So you can change it later as well, right after installation. You use the same IP address and you just press enter, and you're gonna see that the network adapter, which of the physical network adapter you're using at the moment, and you can see it is connected, right? You can choose the other one, press space bar to align it with your existing ESXi host. So you want to choose both of them physically installed network adapter cards to be the part of your ESXi host configuration. Then you press OK or enter, and then you're gonna use the IP configurations. So by default it goes with the DHCP, but you can set it up with the static IP addresses, which is in most of the organization is suitable configuration. And you need to specify the IP addresses, whatever you wanted to do the changes right over here, depending on your connectivity and internal connectivity. So you provide the default gateway as well as the IP address to the specific ESXi host, and then you press enter. So the IP address you're going to see here, observe here that it has just been changed, right? And then you can do the IPv6 if you wanted to do the configuration, or you can go with the DNS configuration where you need to specify the below DNS configurations, and you do the changes depending on your current network along with the DNS host. This is the ESXi host name. I mean the IP you provided in your previous practice, and in the DNS configuration you're going to provide the FQDN of your local ESXi host, which you are at the moment you have accessed its DCUI interface, and you press enter to make the things finalized. So you can change this host name of ESXi host even by using this DCUI, direct console user interface, right? So you do the changes, you press escape and you press Y to save the changes, and the things have just been changed. Later you can use the restart management network to restart the ESXi host services to take the changes going to take effect in this particular case. And once you do this, so later on you can test the management network, and you just ping the same IP address along with the name resolution that you have did. So it should give you OK for pinging the IP address, pinging the gateway, and resolving the new host name that you provided with in a fully qualified domain name. It's only going to happen when your backing DNS is working perfectly fine. So once you did this, so now you are good to go with your general ESXi host configuration. You can then press escape to get out of the configurational interface, and that's all for basic configuration of your ESXi host to access it through its newly changed IP address that you can see over here now within the orange or yellow part of the interface. So thank you very much for watching and looking into the basic configuration that I have just provided you a high-level overview. I hope you enjoyed the session, and keep in touch and stay tuned for the new videos for installing vCenter server and then connecting vCenter server with the ESXi host.